Anyone who knows me knows that I really like Star Wars. Just to summarize how I feel about each of the movies, these ones are great, this one's pretty good, this one's okay sometimes, and these two are not those things. Star Wars also kills it in the animation department with both the shows they've released so far. But there's a new one coming out, and I'm pretty conflicted about it. Just before diving into that, let's do a quick history on how I feel about new Star Wars movies in general. I grew up alongside the prequels, and after those were done, I never really wanted any more Star Wars movies, especially one set after Return of the Jedi. It wasn't I didn't like Star Wars. I loved it. At the time, I even liked all 6 movies. I just never really felt the need to see what happened next. The story was done for me. And then they announced that Disney had bought Lucasfilm. They were making a new trilogy. I was like, okay, fine. Just keep Luke, Han, and Leia out of it. Then they announced that they were all coming back, and I was a bit annoyed for a minute. And then I saw the Force Awakens trailer.
Chewie, we're home.
And I was like, okay, this will probably be good. And it was, and so was its sequel. The point I'm trying to make here is that I've been wrong before. There's actually a lot to be excited about this one, but there's also a lot to be cautious and concerned about. So let's dive in and talk about Solo, a Star Wars story. Okay, let's start with the concerning parts, because I'm a bad news first kind of guy. If you follow the film industry, you'll know that this thing has had a ton of production problems. Phil Lord and Chris Miller, the guys responsible for the Lego Movie and the rebooted Jump Street franchise, were originally the directors of this movie, and citing creative differences, the two were removed after shooting almost the entire movie. Apparently they were going for something really meta and improvisational, which is something that Disney and Lucasfilm were definitely not down for. Why Lucasfilm and the directors didn't discuss this before shooting, or early enough in shooting to where it could have been stopped, is beyond me. But anyway, Ron Howard was brought in and basically reshot the entire thing. Now, Ron Howard's a great director, so I'm sure he did a good job, but having production problems of this scale, this late in the game, is never a really good sign. The biggest picture concern for me is just that the idea of an origin story for Han Solo feels completely unnecessary. It's not like he's a superhero. We don't need to explain how he got his powers or something like that. He's just some dude with a criminal background who happened to be in a cantina at the same time as Luke. I never really cared what he and Chewie were doing before they met Luke and been in that cantina, and maybe this is just me, but I never really wondered about anything, how Chewie met Han or anything like that. They just knew each other, and they'd been partners for some time. My biggest worry is that they're going to do this thing where they show us how Han got his blaster and how he got his vest and his belt and the Millennium Falcon. It's like, ugh. We even see in the trailer Woody Harrelson's character's tossing him the classic blaster, and I really hope this is just them gearing up for a job and it's just an offhanded thing and never mentioned at all. Don't do the Pirates of the Caribbean 5 thing where you show young Jack Sparrow getting everything that makes him unique in one scene or something like that. The point I'm making is it doesn't matter how he got his look. It's clothes and a weapon. Please don't make this scene some big dramatic moment where the music swells and he looks down at it for 20 seconds in a really meaningful way. It's amateur. My last major concern is actually the character of Han himself and the actor Alden Ehrenreich playing Han. Now, I'm not concerned with his ability as an actor. I've seen Hail Caesar. I already know he's great. I mean, just look at this. It's delightful.
My dear boy, why do you say that? Why do you say twir?
Well, you should say it like I said it.
Yes.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple?
Would that it were so simple. Would that it were so simple.
Watch my mouth. Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Keep your head still. Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
I'm trying to say that, Mr. Lawrence.
Lawrence,
I thought a minute ago it was Lawrence.
No, we can use Christian names, my good dear boy. Lawrence is fine, just as I call you Hobie.
Okay.
So, would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple. Trippingly.
Would that it were so simple. Trippingly.
No, don't say trippingly. Say the line trippingly.
My concern is that he doesn't feel like Han. And I'm not saying Han should be the exact same as when we originally met him in the first Star Wars movie. He 100% should not be, as he's 10 years younger. Alden just doesn't feel like he's playing the person who eventually becomes the Han that we know. To explain that, I mean, look at Ewan McGregor in Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan is very, very different in this movie than he is in Star Wars, but he still feels like the same guy, just at an earlier stage in life. Alden doesn't, and I know it's unfair to judge at this point because I'm basing it off of two 2-minute trailers. He could absolutely surprise us all. We'll just have to wait and see. It's strange to me because putting an actor in this situation seems like an unreasonably tough task because Han is one of the most beloved and iconic characters ever, and that's at least partially due to Harrison Ford's performance. Now on to the happier stuff. First off, it looks great visually. It looks like an exciting Western heist film. Love that. The aesthetic looks familiar but different enough to where it feels like something new. I also like that they made the Falcon look wildly different and brand spanking new. I don't know why people are so upset by this. The Falcon wouldn't have always looked like an old piece of shit, guys. And in addition to that, costumes and set design look pretty fantastic across the board. The cast is another big positive. Donald Glover is dead on. He doesn't look much of anything like Billy D. Williams, but he feels 100% like a young Lando should feel. I also love Emilia Clarke, and I'm excited to see her in the Star Wars universe, especially since Game of Thrones is ending soon. It's good to see her name at the top of a big franchise film that's not Terminator Genesis. She seems like she'll be a fun foil and most likely the love interest for Han in this film. Woody Harrelson, he's never a bad choice. And despite what I said earlier, Alden Ehrenreich could give us a new take on Han that adds a ton of depth to his character that we never knew we wanted. Chewie, it's there. Chewie is Chewie. We all like Chewie. Total side note, but in The Force Awakens, when he shows back up, he should have had gray fur, and they should have used this concept art for Han's look, but whatever, back to the cast. There's also a character named Therm Scissor Punch. He's probably going to do absolutely nothing, but damn, what a name. I'm also super excited about Lawrence Kasdan being back and the screenplay he wrote for the movie with his son. If you aren't totally familiar with Lawrence Kasdan by name, some notable credits that he has done would be Empire Strikes Back, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Return of the Jedi, and The Force Awakens. Inside Lucasfilm, they're apparently calling this the best Star Wars script that's ever existed. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to translate to screen as the best Star Wars movie, but it's still a nice thing to hear. Also, I don't necessarily put too much stock in what internal studio folks say, because Batman v Superman got a standing ovation by the Warner Brothers execs, and well, we kind of all know how that turned out. One last positive I wanted to touch on is the music, at least in the trailers. So far, the music in the trailers has been really cool, different, and interesting, and I hope it is representative of the actual soundtrack of Solo.
You're after something. Is it revenge?
I love the classic John Williams Star Wars music, of course, but these standalones like Rogue One and Solo should have different feels that set them apart from the main saga movies. So what are my final thoughts on Solo? Well, I've gone from hating the idea of this movie entirely to being cautiously optimistic, and now I'm actually a bit excited. Am I more excited for Jason Statham's The Meg? Oh, absolutely. Nah, just kidding. Although that could be some good corny fun. But no, Solo should be pretty good, honestly. If it weren't about Han, I'd be 100% on board for this movie already. It still could be a great story, though, and it could add a lot to the universe and the character of Han Solo. We'll just have to wait and see. And that's going to do it for me this time. If you liked this video and you want to see more, please like, share, subscribe. And everybody have a good week. See you all next Thursday.